Assignment 1 for Literacies Pedagogy by Jennifer Vellacott. Annotations. Anstey and Bull, helping teachers to explore multimodal texts. The Australian curriculum's definition of literacy includes references to the new communication technologies and multimodal texts. Anstey and Bull seek here to equip teachers to understand both what these are and how to facilitate the integration of these communicative literacies into classrooms. The authors expound the semiotic systems which combine to make multimodal texts and list areas of professional learning beneficial for classroom practice, including explicit teaching of pragmatics, meta-language, and pedagogy. Anstey and Bull draw attention to multimodal texts other than ICTs, providing an alternative starting point for unconfident teachers. Cumming, Kimber and White-Smith, 2012, Enacting Policy, Curriculum and Teacher Conceptualizations of Multimodal Literacy and English in Assessment and Accountability. Profound global and technological transformations have necessitated changes to literacy understandings, now reflected in the Australian curriculum. Cumming, Kimber and White-Smith advise, however, that current national assessment procedures no longer address the full curriculum and suggest changes to remedy this. The author's view of multimodal text, predominantly as technology, limits the range of available appropriate assessments and amplifies the purported deficits in student achievement. A broader view of multimodal texts may impact on conclusions reached. Haig and Payton, Digital Literacy Across the Curriculum. Teachers must equip students to meet the challenges presented by the increasing role of technology in everyday life, state Haig and Payton. The task involves developing not only functional skills, but also competence in the areas of finding and critically analysing information, choosing from available designs to discern the most appropriate tools for communication, interpreting social and cultural contexts, and being aware of safety. Students should be given opportunities in all subject areas to interact with awareness of different communicative modes and to decode multimodal texts. Jewett, Multimodality and Literacy in School Classrooms. Literacy is no longer limited to the linguistic, Jewett asserts, nor can it be detached from the influence of social, economic and technological factors. Effects of globalisation and technological advances necessitate new conceptualisation of literacies, including new literacies, multiliteracies and multimodality. In the classroom, traditional text must give way to multimodal ones. Issues of pedagogy, design, connections with the literacy world of students, and the shapes of curriculum knowledge and learning that emerge from the multimodal literacies must be addressed. Multimodal learning allows students to engage in dynamic meaning-making, interrogating texts via the interplay of multiple modes and connecting their own to other cultural understandings. Nain, Achieving Science Literacy Through Transformation of Multimodal Textual Resources. Nain builds on the developing notion of scientific literacy, adding to Wallace's 2004 model the concepts of multimodality and transformation. Multimodality plays the dual role of both a feature of science literacy and a tool to develop it. Nain expands on Wallace's use of the term transformations to encompass the choice of design elements as an intentional means of expression within different disciplines, the need for multiple discourses, again within a subject area, and the disparity between meaning sent and received. Multimodality is identified as a normal feature of science texts, further developed when technologies are introduced. Multimodal literacy is used to facilitate transformations across modes and is developed within the classroom. Mills, Schreck meets Vygotsky, Rethinking Adolescents' Multimodal Literacy Practices in Schools. In this article, Mills challenges three assumptions about adolescent literacies: that all young people are digital natives, that inclusion of students' own world multimodal interests should be the primary focus in schools, and that students do not require scaffolding, only place to produce. Studies focusing on the ICT proficiencies of students from diverse backgrounds confirm the disparity between varying socioeconomic and cultural contexts. Diversity is also present in student interests, and while connecting students' own world and that of the classroom is important, providing abstract learning experiences which extend students to reach their full potential is also necessary. Scaffolding is essential to meet understanding and skills deficits, and some explicit instruction must be provided, concurrently with opportunities to practice. New London Group, A Pedagogy of Multiliteracies, Designing Social Futures. Concerned that literacy pedagogy internationally was not meeting the needs of a changing world, the New London Group met to collaborate about the future of literacy and produced this article explaining their notion of multiliteracies. Cultural and technological diversity within an increasingly global society has affected change in working, professional and public lives. New understandings are needed of what it means to be literate. New pedagogy is required to enable students to access and analyse emerging literacies, to design and reproduce them. Necessary pedagogy is described via 4 key factors, and multimodal texts are identified and defined, opening the way for literacies of the future. Santoro, using the 4 resources model across the curriculum. All teachers are teachers of literacy, says Santoro, and as such, all teachers must take responsibility for equipping students with the subject-specific literacies necessary for success. Using the 4 resources model framework, Santoro shows how subject-specific texts can be deconstructed, linked to prior knowledge, reconstructed, and critically interrogated in order to develop multiliteracy skills, including those of multimodality. These practices and skills must be explicitly taught with a view to preparing students with literacies for further non-literacy studies. Vincent, Multimodal Literacies in the School Curriculum, an urgent matter of equity. Vincent contends that teaching and assessment methods utilised in Australian schools value only the linguistic mode of communication. This can be resolved by the promotion of multimodal literacies. Research undertaken by the author, which assessed students with leanings towards both verbal and visual modes, suggests that students with strong visual preferences may excel when allowed the opportunity to communicate and produce text in multimodal form, specifically using the ICT application LCSI Microworlds Pro. Conclusions, based on the study of only the 26 students in Vincent's own Year 5 class, need further research for validation. The results, however, may immediately inspire the increased reading and production of multimodal texts in the target class with positive results. Walsh, Multimodal Literacy, What does it mean for classroom practice? At the time of writing, Walsh was concerned with the evolving Australian curriculum's failure to comprehensively address and include multiple and multimodal literacies necessary for contemporary literacy success, or indeed provide robust methods of assessing them. Results of a research study indicated that students were engaging more with emergent multimodal texts than traditional print text in their own time, indicating the need to fully utilise these rich learning experiences at school. This involves not only combining different modes to make meaning, but also entering into the social interactions involved. Innovative experiences can be designed in any subject area, utilising multimodal experiences. Explicit teaching to incorporate basic literacy practices into multimodal learning is imperative. Linking the chosen articles is the theme of multimodal discourse. Its history, relevance, and effectiveness in the classroom. History. Those following research developments in literacies education over the past decade or so could well be forgiven for harbouring confusion over the plethora of new terminology introduced. Walsh tenders the following list: multiliteracies, new literacies, multimodal texts, multimodal discourse, and multimodality. While definitions of literacy are fluid over time and dependent on context, author, and current needs, these terms seek to provide new ways of understanding the altered paradigm associated with literacy learning, resulting from globalization and developments in digital technologies. The New London Group, in their work on multiliteracies, have identified multimodality as a major feature of literacy design. They identify 5 modes of communication: audio, gestural, linguistic, spatial, and visual, which combine in any number of ways to create a multimodal text. These new understandings of literacy are beginning to make their way into the Australian curriculum. However, standardised national assessments are yet to include the testing of multiliteracies aspects of the document. Relevance. Old understandings of literacy are making way for new ones. Literacy is no longer singular, limited to the linguistic or monomodal. Future teachers must teach these literacies, including the multimodal. As Santoro points out, all teachers are teachers of literacy. Santoro recommends the 4 resources model to ensure well-rounded literacy education. The New London Group's multiliteracies pedagogy extends this framework for further guidance. Teachers should also keep in mind that while many students are familiar with numerous technologies, this will not be the case with all. Diverse backgrounds are an indicator of the possible level of familiarity with technologies. Those who display confidence are not necessarily proficient. Another key aspect is to remember to utilise the many non-technological multimodal texts available in addition to ICT resources. Effectiveness in the classroom. The perceived effectiveness of multimodal text use in the classroom is largely dependent on what the teacher is trying to achieve. For instance, if multimodal texts are being deconstructed and examined, along with explicit instruction being given in the use of semiotic elements for precise communication, results will be evident when students reconstruct their own text as an outlet for self-expression. Vincent's study saw success in this way, especially with students from diverse backgrounds. Once developed, multimodal literacy is then used in individual subject areas, which utilise their own specific literacies. Effectiveness could be measured by the ability of students to transfer general multimodal literacy skills to these subject-specific multimodal texts, enhancing contextual understanding and allowing for critical analysis. Multimodality is an important issue for future literacy education and must be prioritised by educators to prepare students for the changing future they face.